I do have a thought for the day prepared, but today is May 25th, and so I just want to take a moment. 2 years ago, a man named George Floyd was murdered, and he transitioned violently and unjustly, but at the same time galvanized this generation to think deeper about racial inequity in this country. And so I just want to say his name. And even though thank you, and he's in the news today because of the anniversary, but may that sentiment always and this feeling always continue to drive us towards true justice. Okay, so my thought for the day, I want to shout out my coworker, my work neighbor, Allison, for reminding me of this piece because we were talking about it in the story. So I'm Filipino American, and there is so shout out to all Filipinos. And it's Asian Pacific American Native Hawaiian Heritage Month, so just acknowledging that as well. But there's this ancient virtue. So the Philippines is a country in Asia, in the Pacific, that has been colonized many times. And so we've had to deal with a lot of that. But there's an ancient virtue that we call utang na loob, which as close English translation as it can be is a debt from within, a debt of gratitude, right? And while my generation, we struggle with it, right? Because it's about this feeling of, it's this obligation to give back, right? But in my family, the example that I think about is when my mother, my mother took care of my grandmother in the last years of her life. And I remember my mother my mother would tell me, like, I gotta retire so I can go get your grandma back from the Philippines, get your Lola back from the Philippines, and take care of her because it's my utang na loob, it's my debt to her. And I was like, man, how are you gonna do this? Like, it's a lot, you know? But I recognized with the spirit of which my mom said it, it was just not even it was a no-brainer. It wasn't even a thing. It was her obligation to do it. And even though times got stressful and they fought a lot, I mean, they're really feisty women, and you know, there was a lot of struggle. I noticed it. I noticed it in my mother, how this was just a thing that we do, like to give back to someone who gave to, you know, that gave to her. And it was hard, you know. My grandmother couldn't walk. She had to bring her back on a plane from the Philippines. It was really tough. And then there's all these immigration kind of, you know, all these things. Anyways, she did it, and you know, my grandmother was able to transition peacefully in the home in my mother's home where I grew up. And then, you know, as time goes on, and even when it was hard, you know, my mom and I joke about it. Like, she even said, she said to me, she's like, I need to be nice to you because when I'm old and I can't walk, you're gonna be wiping my butt. And I was like, okay. I said, but, and then when she said that, I was like, well, of course I would be, because you wiped my butt when I was a baby. And I had, you know, so she helped me, you know, and we joke about it, and even though there are some complications, there's difficulties, there's struggles, it's a mixed bag with this debt of gratitude. Something that I like to focus on is that when we do things for one another and we do it in love and joy, it is, you know, it's connection. It's a way that we continue this circle of life, of family, of collectivism, of community. And so sometimes it could be hard to give when you feel like you've given a lot, or you're exhausted, or you've just got a lot going on. But my thought that I'd like to leave you with today is, how can you give, and how can you give with joy and love in your heart so that it comes back to you too. Thank you.